True or false? Samuel L. Jackson once held Martin Luther King Sr. hostage. Well, in fact, that's true. During his college days, Jackson was part of a group of students that held the Morehead College Board of Trustees hostage. Among the hostages was Martin Luther King Sr.
Daddy wasn't finding a bow wow. Daddy wasn't finding a bow wow. I love my little cat. I'm very fond of that. I'd rather have a big bow wow 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 wow. Daddy
Hello,
wasn't
and welcome to the
finding a bow
Mochiverse. I'm
wow.
Linette,
And I'm Skip.
and that's pretty freaking amazing.
This is a show that we kind of that are really just stealing the title, if you will. It's true facts that sound like BS.
Nice. I like
Better
that.
known as mind
That
blowing true facts. Boy,
one
did
of
I say
those.
that 5 times fast.
I thought I thought you were gonna say better known as bologna sausage.
It's a bologna sausage. I never heard of that. Yeah.
I say it all the time. See, because I work, in a place that is in the public, I
Mhm.
have to use alternate swear words sometimes. So
Ah, okay.
yeah, so I say bologna sausage a lot.
Cool. All right. Cool.
Makes
Cool.
people laugh.
Yeah. So this may be fun. We'll see.
I
I
think
think,
it will be.
yeah, it's. I mean, these are just all these little things. I'm gonna. I'll just hit them randomly. We'll
Yeah.
start with a few that, like since I did Samuel Jackson, why don't we do Tim Allen? Tim Allen, it's pretty, the actor Tim Allen. I think this is pretty well known that
Hmm.
he almost became a prisoner for life
Yep.
uh, before becoming an actor. He was basically a drug dealer. And to avoid prison time, he actually gave up the names of the other dealers.
Yeah.
So
See
that's
that
sort of,
that tracks for Tim Allen because besides like Buzz Lightyear and everything, I don't know. I don't personally hold a very high opinion of Tim Allen.
yeah.
He's I mean, he started off as a stand-up comedian,
Hmm.
and a lot of stand-ups, they struggle with a
Yep.
lot of things, and it's not really a glamorous profession. A lot of them have a lot of issues. A lot of them have a lot of emotional issues, and a lot of them, they kind of live day to day. But he seems to me, I don't think he was one of those sort of struggling in poverty kind of drug dealers. I think he strikes me, and I don't know his history, but I could picture him as like a teenager and young adult as like a like a frat boy drug dealer, like
Yeah.
a wise ass kind
Yeah.
of rich kid type of
Hmm.
guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't
That
know.
seems to make, yeah, that tracks from
Yeah.
what you see. I mean, when you see his characters on in programs and whatever, it sort of tracks that way. No, it's true or false. Steve Buscemi, we all know Steve Buscemi,
Love him.
that he had took a break from acting in return for his job as a firefighter after the 9/11 attack.
Yes.
So we know that he worked 12-hour shifts to help rescue people from the rubble.
Yeah. Yeah. Richard told me that one. But I
Yeah,
I feel like I've read it as well.
yeah,
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for that, you
yeah.
know.
I think it's something it's known, but it serves a good purpose to my mind to bring it up. Woody Harrelson, true or
Oh.
false? Woody
Oh,
Harrelson. This is
I wonder if I know what you're going to say on
you
this one
might
because
know it,
I have a
but
very
his
strong
father,
opinion.
according to true or false, his
Yeah.
father was a Secret Service agent who nearly prevented the death of President John F. Kennedy.
Oh,
Well, that not actually happened. Actually,
no, he
his
was not.
his father was an assassin who murdered a federal judge.
Yeah, his dad wasn't a good guy. He was, yeah, he was like one of the bad guys. But like
Yeah.
also, did you know in addition to being like an assassin and being
Hmm.
like, probably just I could picture him as like an all-around tough guy.
Hmm.
He was also fond of the ladies.
Oh,
And
okay.
you may or may not have heard that one of those ladies happened to have been Matthew McConaughey's mother. And
Oh,
so, yeah, the two men currently are wondering if they are actually half brothers.
hmm.
But I don't think Woody Harrelson wants to take a DNA test. I think he's the one who's holding out. But
Okay.
they look, I mean, they look a lot alike. And then if the more you look at him, the more you could see it. And then if you look at Matthew McConaughey's brother, the brother he knows that is his brother, he kind
Yeah.
of looks like Woody Harrelson too,
Oh, wow.
like even more like Woody Harrelson.
Right,
So
right.
it's like, I think it's kind of a given, but I guess, listen, if you don't want to know, like, that's totally your choice.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it is. Yeah.
Sort of like how I don't know if he probably got tested later, but another Woody Guthrie, when he was dying of Huntington's disease, Arlo Guthrie kind of like refused to take genetic testing to find out if he had it too, if he was going to have it too,
Yeah, yeah.
because I think he just didn't want to know. But I imagine he might have later because he ended up having kids, and like a lot of times, like if there's a genetic disease that you're afraid you might get, a lot of people hold off on having kids.
Right,
So
right.
I wonder if maybe he finally sort of relented and just wanted to know. But he doesn't have it, so I guess that's good. But yeah, so that's an interesting one. I like that.
Speaking of Woody's in Toy Story. Do you know Woody's last
I
name?
do. Oh, what's his last name? No, I don't.
Yeah, Pride.
Pride, Woody Pride.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know. Yeah. In the movie Home Alone, the
Uh-huh.
picture of Buzz's girlfriend that Kevin finds is actually a boy in a wig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not just a boy. It's the actor who plays the brother in a wig.
in a wig. Okay.
Yeah. I knew that one.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah.
That's so great. And did you ever see the modern day remake of Home Alone?
No, I didn't. No.
Uh, so it wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. I was really excited to watch it because the kid who was in it was the kid from, oh, I don't know if you still haven't seen the movie Jojo Rabbit, but he's this really great kid, he's a young actor from England.
Hmm.
And I had my eye on him. I was like watching this. I was like, oh, I need to see more stuff this kid does because I love it when, I mean, I feel certain ways sometimes about kids as actors,
Right.
but I mean, hopefully they're treating him better now than they used to. But like this kid, he looked like he was really talented and he had a lot of promise. And I was like, oh, I'd like to see what other projects this kid does. And he was playing, like the Kevin. And they live in like a gated community.
Hmm.
And the security officer who works for the gated community is Kevin's older brother.
Their little brother. That's
Yeah.
funny.
And he was like, yeah, you knew he'd turn out to be something like that.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
like an asshole security officer for a gated community.
Buzz
Yeah.
Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin happily claimed to be the first man to pee on the moon.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you can prove that, but that's what he said.
That's so funny.
That's what he said. That's his story. We're sticking to it. When you think about space and movies, it was in like an Alien. It says in space, no one can hear you scream. Well, the
Right.
reality is if there's a space fight like you see in Star Wars and Star Trek and stuff like that, it would be
Mhm.
completely silent because in a vacuum, sound
Right.
does not travel.
Yeah, and also like the explosions, they work a little bit differently too. The
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
the debris and stuff would disperse because
yeah.
of the impact, because of the inertia. But like, yeah, it's not going to be like flames and stuff in
Right. Yeah.
space. Oh, so when we were talking about Buzz Aldrin, remember we had a little conversation about
Mhm.
one of the two men who was first to walk on the moon. Um,
Right.
and it was actually, so it was Neil Armstrong, the story that I told you about.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Neil Armstrong, there's like it could be like a urban legend type of thing,
Mhm. Yeah.
but it's a kind of urban legend that I stand behind because it's a really funny story. So apparently Neil Armstrong, he had
Mhm.
like a next door neighbor named Mr. Gorski. And supposedly he had overheard the next door neighbor having an argument with his wife because he was asking his wife to do a certain favor for him in the bedroom.
Mhm.
And his wife made a comment. His wife made a comment such as, "You'll get that when the kid next door walks on the moon." And apparently, Neil Armstrong, when he was on the moon, he said, "Good luck, Mr. Gorski." And he didn't say anything else. And so that's
Uh,
supposedly, yeah. So that's supposedly the story behind that. Could be true, could be false, could be bullshit, but I really like it. I think it's a good story.
yeah, that's a good story. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully it's true. And it kind of makes it like better because it was the time it was. And you say it's the kind of thing you could say on television because nobody knows the backstory of it, but two people potentially would.
Would yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. So keep it being random, which is what I'm trying to do here, is
Yeah, let's do it.
there is a sport. You ever heard of this? A sport of horse diving. It
Yes, I have.
once, yeah, you've heard of that. It once attracted crowds of spectators so large that they caused a steel pier in Atlantic City, New Jersey, to sink. Well, the
Oh,
pier
wow.
didn't sink all the way, but it was almost imperceptible. In the end, almost 50 years of sea level data had to be thrown out, all thanks to diving horses.
It's
Because there's a pattern in the sea level that actually changed imperceptibly, so it really wasn't
wow.
make a difference.
That's
Uh,
crazy. But yeah, the horse diving is just bananas.
yeah,
I first heard about it when I was a kid because, as you know, I watched a lot of TV. And there was one of these like TV movie things about this woman who was a horse diver. And they
yeah.
literally, I don't know who thought this was going to be a good idea, but they literally have you're a person on a horse on a big platform, and then the horse dives into water from this huge height. Like it's the opposite of what horses want to do and should
They don't
do.
want to do it. They will stop doing it. That's right, right.
Yeah, and the woman in the movie, I don't know if it was like 100% a true story, but the woman in the movie went blind as a result of like a bad dive.
Wow.
Yeah, but like the horses though, like I just can't imagine. It just seems, and who the heck would want to watch that? Like it just seems so weird to me.
Well, people did, and that's it. It's like anything else. It's just like a train wreck. That you watch it even though you say I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a true story. Her name was Sonora Webster Carver. She was born in 1904. She died in 2003. She was, wow, yeah, she was 99 years old. And they would dive so 40 to 60 feet. That's just insane.
That's crazy.
It's
Yeah.
just insane. So in 1931, she was blinded by retinal detachment because she hit the water off balance with her eyes open while she was diving her horse and Atlantic City's Steel Pier.
So it did happen there. Yeah.
It did. And she kept diving horses till 1942 after going blind.
And so went around. Yeah. Hmm.
Isn't that's just wow.
Crazy. So, and also crazy, and also this really falls in the same kind of line is that
Mhm.
did you know the can opener wasn't even invented till nearly 50 years after the can?
I do. Yeah.
This is like bizarre. I mean, it's just like, really? I get it that they would have found other ways to open it, but you would have thought that over
Well,
that amount of time,
yeah.
somebody would have come up with, okay, we've just made this can. How do
Right.
we open it? You know,
Yeah, here we could preserve it. Here you go. Figure it out. Like
yeah.
what you would think like how are the people going to get the stuff? Just use your big old knife that everybody has.
Well,
That's
you
what they're
use a
thinking.
knife, hammer, chisel, a box cutter, fork, screwdriver. You'd probably use whatever you could to get it open. Um, and
I
there,
I
there
had to
was
do
a,
it
I, I,
in my
I,
first
prob-
apartment.
I probably have it wrong, but during the World War, they had, I think it's called, maybe it's a P-38, but you'd have attached to your dog tags this can opener, which is, I call it P-38. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but
Mm,
you could open a can with it.
yeah.
And it was also, it would serve as a flathead screwdriver. But
You had in your little box that I
mhm.
used to like looking through, you had a little church key in there. I remember.
Yeah, Church Keep probably, and whatever. Yeah, it was. I think they even issued them, I believe.
Yeah,
So
it looked like it was issued because it was like
yeah,
it was like a little sardine can with like a church
yeah,
key,
and
yeah,
that's how
type
it
of thing.
opened. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean,
Yeah,
it does seem silly that they didn't have can openers at the same time as cans. But I
I,
guess I don't know.
yeah, I would think that whoever decided to do the canning would say, okay, this is very nice, but how do you open it? Somebody's got to think about it. How are you going to open it? So
Right.
that's
And maybe
bizarre.
canning when it was first, well, it's possible that when canning was first a thing, it was mostly for industrial, for like businesses and things like that who would have, some sort of implements, rather than for like household use. But of
Yeah,
course, everybody had knives and axes and
yeah.
chisels, and ice picks and stuff
Yeah.
back then, anyways.
This next one, I'd be surprised if you didn't know this. When you receive a kidney transplant, the doctors
Hmm.
usually leave the original kidney inside of you,
They do. Yeah, there's no
which is
reason
I
to
didn't
take it
know that
out.
one. So
Yeah.
it's only taken out if it leaves if it's a problem.
Yeah,
That's
I think the only reason that they would take it out is if there was something, if there was a disease present that would be toxic for you to keep that kidney, or if there was necrotic tissue, kind of thing, like if because you really shouldn't have dead tissue in your body. But like,
no, yeah,
if it has a blood supply and it's there, just leave it. It's the funniest thing. It's probably easier. You don't have to detach as many blood vessels and things like that.
yeah. It probably saves a lot of cutting too. So this is like kind of again we're random.
Hmm.
If there are 23 people in a room, there's a 50% chance that two of them share a birthday. Now, statisticians will say they call it the birthday paradox. If
Hmm.
there are 75 people in a room, there's a 99.9% chance that the two shared a birthday. The two share a birthday.
Wow. I
Yeah,
wonder how
that's
those numbers
wild.
work.
Yeah, I don't either, but statisticians, you know how they are.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
yeah, and then we're random all over the place. Humans landed on the moon before inventing wheeled suitcases.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So like just
you would think
imagine.
the astronauts would have a wheeled suitcase.
Oh, they had to lug that shit.
Yeah, they had
Can
to lug it, So
you
anyway,
imagine having to actually carry a suitcase in an airport nowadays
unbelievable.
with the
Couldn't do it.
handle?
You don't
No, I
see
can't.
anybody carrying anything.
No, it's
Will,
just
and
wheel
they
it.
all got the wheels that go in multiple directions so that they can just keep wheeling right through
Oh,
you know,
it's so
uh,
nice too. Can I tell you? Because when
oh,
we went to
sure.
DC, we went to DC and we didn't go, we landed early, so we couldn't go to the hotel first. I guess we could have, like, because a lot of times, even if it's too early for check-in, sometimes if you're really nice and if they're really nice, they'll hold on to your luggage for you if you've got a
Mhm.
reservation. But
Yeah.
like, we didn't even go. Like, we didn't even try. We started sightseeing right away, and it was a very good thing because it was 9,000 degrees that day that we had brand new luggage because the wheels were all nice and pristine.
Yeah, it's really worth the money. And when you think about that luggage, it just means that while Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, they're pioneers,
Yeah,
that they still had to carry their overnight bags into the rocket.
that's right.
So yeah,
Although I will say that in those kind of days, maybe not so much in those kind of days, but in previous decades, in train stations and airports and things like that, porters were still a thing, especially in train stations.
hmm
So when it came to luggage, not necessarily in like 1969 or whatever, but when it came to luggage, like say in the 30s and 40s,
hmm
most people weren't carrying it themselves anyways.
yeah,
Either they were rich enough to have somebody working for them because not everybody could travel, or the station, like the train stations, had people that
yeah. You
took
had
care of that
porters
sort
that
of thing.
carried them.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, which you
and
don't see as much anymore.
yeah, and you could imagine. I mean, it was only a year between these two events, but as we all know that the way things work when something first comes out, it costs you thousands of dollars
Yeah.
uh, to get one. The reason at least the reason they sell it is that they say, well, it cost us millions of dollars to invent this, so we're trying to recoup some of our costs.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. It's just really kind of bizarre, all these things that you find. I mean, the fact that, you're talking about the suitcase thing, that's kind of weird,
Oh
Um,
yeah, all that timeline stuff is really crazy. Like the one that you and I talked about way before like we ever started the show.
mhm.
The fact that sharks are older than trees. So there have been sharks on the earth way before trees ever existed,
Yeah,
which is really cool.
some people they consider prehistoric, I guess,
They are, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so this is kind of a fact that really doesn't surprise me. True or false? More than 1% of the US population is currently in jail. It's
Yeah,
actually
I'd say
false.
true. Really?
Yeah, but it's false. It's not far off though. It's just
No.
0.9%.
Yeah, and it's more than any other country probably.
Probably, yeah, yeah,
Unfortunately. Yeah,
yeah,
we like incarcerating people here.
yeah. True or false? Brutus slept with the mother of Julius Caesar.
Yeah. Did he marry her?
False, the other way around. Brutus's mother was one of Caesar's mistresses.
Oh,
No
okay,
wonder
yeah.
he was mad, right?
That's why he stabbed him. Yeah. But it doesn't explain why everybody else did. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's been an
Uh,
explanation for that.
well, yeah.
It always blew my mind that I don't know why, probably because some things just sound weird to your brain,
Mhm.
but it always blew my mind that there was an actual date, for Caesar being killed. And I don't know, like at first I thought it was because like it was kind of made up for, from Shakespeare.
Mhm.
But then I looked and I think I saw that no, it really was like the Ides of March
Yeah,
was,
it's a march. Yeah.
yeah. And for some reason, I can't wrap my brain around the fact that we have like a date for something that was so long ago. Because normally it's like, it's just the year that you get. That happened
Yeah, but
somewhere around this century or somewhere around
yeah,
this
yeah.
decade. But like
No,
in
that's
ancient Rome, like we know a date of something. It blows my mind. It's weird.
well, yeah. I'm not familiar enough to make this statement, but it would not surprise me if the Ides of March just happened to be something that happened, and the decision was made to do it at that point, and it just happened to be cool. Yeah,
Yeah, and because it was a notable date. I
right.
think the part about I don't know how much of it was factual, but I mean in Rome they did have a lot of superstitions and things
Yeah.
like that. But the part about, the part in the play about how it was a prophecy, I don't know if that was a real thing. But
No,
but it could have been because they believed in prophecies back then. So maybe somebody was warned and it just happened to happen.
anyway, that was that. They had a did, did you know once an Austrian army once mistakenly attacked itself? True. In the Battle of Karansembes, it reportedly had up to 10,000 soldiers were killed when one of the Austrian regiments mistook another for the enemy.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, that pissed you off.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, yeah. So this is probably if anybody was deep into history, would have known that the Gettysburg Address was not the keynote speech of the event.
Oh, okay.
No, no, the keynote was actually delivered by Edward Everett, and actually his his speech lasted 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, those speeches used to last like forever back then. Can you imagine? I guess there's no TV, so I don't know if I don't know if I could listen to, I have a hard enough time with a 10-minute TED talk, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can listen to like a 2-hour speech, but everybody's speeches in the olden days used to be like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, think about if you've ever been into a meeting and it's like, that long of a meeting would have you poking your eyes out.
Oh,
And that
yeah,
long of a speech would probably have you poking your eyes out, unless the orator was someone who was, they would be sort of like a church preacher, where they
right.
would just and another thing,
It was
just
really interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
Or if you're Teddy Roosevelt, you get shot first.
Yeah.
And I'd be inclined to listen. We better listen to what he has to say. He's worked really hard to get to this point.
So there's true or false.
Hmm.
The Mayans never actually removed beating hearts from their human sacrifices.
Oh,
Actually,
no,
actually it's false. They did.
they did do that.
They did do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it. I wouldn't be surprised if that was just attributed to it through like, TV and movies and general European and white people ignorance. So,
Well, one of the Raiders movies too.
well, yeah, but
Um,
they weren't Mayans.
no, they weren't
They were
Mayans, but you know how
Indians.
it
Yeah.
is when they get stories from from they take bits of stories from other things.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that whole very catchy for us as kids in the day, but super racist.
yeah, yeah.
It's pretty bad.
So, uh, more history is a true or false.
Hmm.
Hitler had a nephew who fought against him in World War II.
I think that is true.
It is true. His
Yeah.
name was William Hitler. And you know what?
Didn't he change his
It wouldn't
name?
surprise you. He changed his name.
Yeah, I was gonna
He,
say that. Yeah.
yeah, he changed his name to William Stewart Houston, but he
Hmm.
served in the U.S. Navy. So
Yep. And because he didn't want there to be ever any more Hitlers, and there weren't. And I think what didn't he was he the one who decided never to have children too, on
that wouldn't
purpose?
surprise me. So at least the line would stop.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think so, yeah, there was somebody in his family who made a declaration, I will never have children,
yeah.
and this is why. Yeah.
True or false? The first
Mhm.
leader of an independent Chile was Irish.
That sounds like it'd be true because you're asking it.
Yeah, Bernardo O'Higgins.
Nice.
That's sweet. Yeah,
Wow. How'd he get over there?
I did. Well, Bernardo, that's how they hit. No, could any number of ways.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. There was a lot of boat
yeah.
travel, I'm sure.
Oh, it's funny. This was really something that was expected, I guess, that the Pope declared that black cats to be the incarnation of Satan. I can remember my aunt was always hated black cats, but
Was
it
this
actually,
during like plague times or?
well, it was like it was right before, and Pope Gregory the ninth believed that black cats were tied to the devil, which caused many of the followers to shun or kill the cats. And some believe that the lack of cats
Hmm.
kept to keep the rat population in check may have even contributed to the bubonic plague.
Oh,
Doesn't
yeah,
surprise me.
for sure
Yeah,
it did. For sure it
yeah.
did. Because they did, I mean, they thought cats in general were, and
Right.
there was that other thing we talked about during our medical cures episode
Mm-hmm.
during the plague, when it related to cats. They also made assumptions about cats because a lot of Jewish families owned cats, and the
Mm-hmm.
Jewish families owned cats because cats were good at keeping vermin off of property. And so they just, it was just your classic standard make assumptions about somebody based on something that you just observed and assume it's a causation when it's just a correlation. And they were like, well, these Jewish people have cats. Cats and Jewish people cause the plague. They're all evil. Like what more of an explanation could there be?
Yeah, it seems to me we had that discussion before.
We did.
And
Yeah,
this,
we talked about it
and this is something
recently.
that you and I did talk about was, and actually you did an episode about it. True or false? More than 20 Bostonians drowned in a wave of alcohol in 1919.
Uh, of
You already
alcohol?
know. Yeah, you already
Well,
know. You know the answer.
this
Think
is the
about it.
yeah, it's correct. This is the molasses flood that we're talking
There you
about.
go.
Yeah, because that's what the molasses was there for. And
Right,
we will talk about this soon.
right.
But
So
only
21 people died.
yeah, it was
So,
21 people and a whole lot of horses, and
yep,
dogs,
yep.
and a lot of property damage and things like
Yeah,
that.
and
But
we
yeah,
will
but
do yeah, we will
yep, we'll do an
do an
episode.
episode about that. Yep.
Yeah, the only spoiler I'll say, just to clarify this question, is that was the reason they had the molasses in the first place, is it was used for distilling into alcohol used for munitions. So it wasn't even for drinking. It was
Right.
industrial
So
alcohol. Yeah.
industrial alcohol. So the another alcoholic thing,
Hmm.
true or false, until recently, Russia did not consider beer to be an alcoholic drink.
I believe
And
that.
the reason they didn't was because they up until 2011, they considered it a soft drink anything that contained less than 10% alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
That tracks.
yeah, it tracks pretty much.
There's that it's just funny, it reminded me of that there's that YouTube guy who now has like a channel on streaming. He's not just on YouTube anymore, but his name is Derek something. He has a show called Vice Grip Garage. He's a auto mechanic, and he's like he basically could bring any old car back to life when it's been sitting forever. He says a lot of funny things. He has a lot of little quirky Derek-isms. And when he refers to beer, he calls it road soda.
Road soda. So,
Very good.
Julius Caesar again.
Okay.
True or false? Julius Caesar was once kidnapped by pirates, but escaped before his ransom could be paid.
Yes, I remember reading about
Not
that.
only did the Romans pay the ransom, but also Caesar was insulted by the pirates' original request for 20 pieces of silver, and he demanded it to be up to 50. So,
And he was quite young when that happened, wasn't he?
yeah,
Like a teenager or something?
teenager or something like that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is another falsehood. Is like 5% of the population can trace its lineage back to Genghis Khan.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
but it's only like it's like 1 in 200 is said to be descended from the warlord. In Asia, though, the number goes up to 8%, which is sort of makes sense. Yeah.
Isn't there another similarity with Charlemagne with Europeans?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
Is
read.
there? Yeah.
I think I read that. It's like a some sort of large percentage of people could trace their lineage back to Charlemagne. Yeah, percentage of people related to Charlemagne. According to genetic studies, nearly all people of European ancestry can be considered related to Charlemagne.
How about that sport, man?
So,
Wow.
due to the
Mm.
vast number of descendants he had over many generations. Wow, that's kind of
So
you go, Charlemagne, I
that's
guess.
something, huh?
I don't know much about Charlemagne.
Neither do
I know
I.
I know
Yeah.
the name and I know how to spell it. That's
Yep.
about it.
So there's another true or false question. One
Mhm.
passenger was aboard both the Titanic and its sister ship Britannic when they were sunk.
Britannic.
Yeah,
Oh,
one person,
one
one
person.
passenger. Yeah, Violet Jessup was aboard both ships and survived both disasters. Talk about lucky. I'd say after I'd done that second trip, I wouldn't do another one.
No, but there's not a lot of options really in the early, in like 1912 or whatever to get around. So I guess, you can't really exactly.
So this is something that's sort of a favorite of some folks is about United States.
Mhm.
That English is the official language in all 50 states in the United States. True or false?
It's false. There's no official language in the
That's
United
right.
States,
No official language.
despite what anybody will tell you. There is
Right.
no official language in the United States. Yeah. It's spoken a lot, but
Yeah,
nope,
it's spoken a lot. Yeah.
we do not
So,
have an official language in this country. Something that really pisses off certain people when you remind them of that. When they like, how dare you make me press two or whatever.
so this is a true or false. Another true or false one is that Confederate General Robert E. Lee didn't own slaves, but Union General Ulysses S. Grant did, and that's true.
Yeah, yeah, there was, I mean, you know, even though uh the North wasn't fighting for the right
Mm-hmm.
to keep slaves, they still had them. A
Yeah.
lot of people still had them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's well known, but that's kind of funny considering Robert E. Lee.
yeah.
The Prohibition during
Prohibition's fun.
Prohibition, the United States government poisoned beer,
Yes.
and the whole idea was to curb the alcoholic consumption. And obviously, there was a few deaths that resulted from it. So
Yeah, there was a lot of blindness that resulted, and there was a lot of like very specific conditions that they sort of nicknamed, after gin and things like that, that these poor people would get because they just, if you're addicted to alcohol, you're gonna get it however you can get it. And
yeah,
that was a problem that was not anticipated by the onset of Prohibition.
yep.
A funny little thing about Prohibition, which I probably told you before, and you can Google the image, it's really cute. During Prohibition, vineyards were having a bit of a hard time, probably.
Mhm.
And so they used to sell, it was this brick of compressed, basically grapes.
Mhm.
And it was like it was a solid brick and it had like wrapping and labeling around it. And it was like, and it said on the outside, do not do the following things. And it would give you all the instructions on how to make wine out of it. Don't do that. Don't do don't put this in a warm place for like 15 days. Don't add like 5 gallons of water. Like it was really good. It says do not dissolve, do not dissolve in water and leave to ferment for 21 days.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just so funny. Do not place the liquid in a jug away in the cupboard for 20 days because then it would turn into wine. I just love that. And like that was enough for legal. I mean, it's not like anybody thought that they really meant don't do it, but the law is the law. I didn't tell them to do it. I told them not to do it. It's not my fault if they do it.
Yeah. So this is another good one, another true or false. The second man on the moon, Buzz Aldrin, would go on to become a rapper.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, true, kind of, sort of.
Okay.
He recorded a rap song with Snoop Dogg as producer called The
Oh,
Rock
that's
Mix.
pretty cool. We like Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's a cool
Snoop
guy.
Dogg would definitely do it.
Yeah, he would. He likes hanging out with older folks. He's like
Yeah,
Martha
yeah,
Stewart's BFF,
yeah,
so
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah, yeah. So Teddy Roosevelt was once shot in the middle of delivering a speech.
He was.
Utah, yes, yes. But he finished the speech. That's a tough guy.
He did, and
Yeah,
it was a long speech, and it was freezing cold, and he was like, I appear to have been shot or whatever. He said something manly,
yeah.
and then he
Something.
kept going with the speech.
Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's some of these things you already know, but Johnny Appleseed was a real person. We know that
Yep,
one.
yep, he
Uh,
was a real person.
yeah, General Santa Anna ordered his amputated leg to be buried with full medal honors.
Yeah,
Sounds like something he would have done. So,
yep.
yeah. So I mean, this a lot of this stuff is kind of cool.
Oh, absolutely.
You know. So the in 1868, Democratic Party forced an unwilling candidate to accept their nomination for president. The awesomely named Horatio Seymour made it known that he had no interest in running for president, but he was unanimously drafted by the party convention and
Jeez.
forced to campaign. But he lost the Ulysses S. Grant.
Wow, that's kind of unfair.
I think so. The guy didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So this is something that probably should happen nowadays. In the early days of automobiles in England, they required that a man carrying a red flag must walk ahead to warn pedestrians. And to accommodate this, the speed limit was just 2 miles per hour in the city and 4 miles per hour in the country. Can you imagine nowadays you get run over? That's and this is your buddy Henry Ford, and this
Oh,
one
oh
is that
boy.
he's an auto manufacturer.
Yeah.
He was given the highest honor that Nazi Germany could bestow on a foreigner
Yeah,
because he was in business with them.
he
So
did.
yeah.
Hitler actually really admired him, and he
Mhm.
had a picture of Henry Ford in his office. And Henry Ford was interested he was part of the eugenics movement. And Hitler may have gotten some of his ideas from Henry Ford about eugenics, actually.
Right, right.
Eugenics really started in America. And there were a lot of famous people who were supportive of the eugenics movement. And it wasn't like, I mean, they thought they were saying something perfectly nice and logical. Basically, they were saying, well, I mean, don't we want the best people to breed? Wouldn't
Hmm.
that be ideal? And don't we want the people who are terrible not to breed? Wouldn't that be smart? Problem is, who gets to decide that? And what kind of criteria are you calling good and bad?
Well,
And
yeah.
all that other stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's why we're not in that. That's why Hitler lost. So, the only tree in the Sahara Desert was killed by a drunk driver in 1973.
Oh my gosh.
All right, yeah. It wasn't the only tree, but the tree of Tenere was the only tree for 250 miles in any direction. And a drunk driver managed to knock it down once and for all.
Was it Jeremy Clarkson?
So, hey, it's funny you think about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia actually imports its sand.
Yeah.
The quality of the sand is too poor to make glass, so they import it from other countries so they can make glass. So
Yeah, and I think they import it into Dubai as well currently from other places for their whatever. They have so much money
th-
there.
there are unconfirmed reports suggesting that during the Cold War, the CI planned to demoralize the Soviet people by airdropping thousands of magnum-sized American condoms labeled small. Only the CIA would think of that, I guess.
That is so stupid. Oh my God.
So
And that got up to a certain number of levels in committees. It got up to enough levels in certain committees to be written down. Like you can imagine if you're in a meeting and one guy says that, whatever, but a bunch of people had to approve that for it to be on a list somewhere
oh
to be a
yeah, exactly.
possibility.
Okay. So
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Like, what are you doing? All right, folks. So that was maybe a short one. I don't know. We were just arguing over how well we keep track of time, but
yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed those. We'd like to do a few more of those. It was just a sort of random one, just some general trivia stuff. And again, this is the kind of stuff that my dad and I talk about all the time.
Yep. Yep.
That's why I heard of a lot of them.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I even thought the same thing as you were going through them. I says, oh yeah, yeah, we talked about that one.
We probably talked about this before.
There would, in my mind, if I went this like section, it's sports. So I would
Yeah.
bet that we didn't have those discussions. So
Oh, probably not. I don't know much
yeah.
about that kind of thing. I have other talents.
That's it. That's it.
I like to defend myself that way.
And I won't pretend to think that I have my sports as my talent. So
All right. So
anyway,
anyway, so thank you for listening. Please send us an email at mochiverse@gmail.com. That's MOCCIAVERSE@gmail.com. Please go to Apple Podcasts and give us a rating and subscribe to us and all that good stuff. And tell us what you think. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about. Because you know what? If you don't ever let us know what you would like us to talk about, we're just going to talk about whatever we want to talk about because it's our show anyway. We might just do that anyway, no matter what you say. But it's worth a try. You never know. But one thing we definitely are going to talk about is dumb jokes.
There you go. So, what is a dog's favorite superhero?
What?
Labrador.
Okay.
I was walking down the beach when I heard a swimmer yelling for help with a shark circling him. I just laughed because I knew that shark wasn't going to help him.
That's good.
So, what do you call a rabbit with fleas?
What?
Bugs Bunny.
Aw, Bugs Bunny.
I know. I don't want to attack you, rabbit.
Yes, stay away from my bunnies.
So what do you say when a chicken is looking at salad?
What?
Chicken sees the salad.
Oh, duh.
You know what? And hey, what do you call a cow with no legs?
What?
Ground beef.
Why have I not heard that one before?
I know.
That's awful. Anyway, sorry, vegans.
yeah, there you go. So listen, you're on this horse riding full gallop. Next to you is a giraffe at full gallop, and behind you is a lion on your tail. What do you do?
What?
Get off the carousel.
Very good. Very good, actually.
Yeah, that was a good one. And I had a horse named Mayo.
You did?
Even I'll go to that one.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, what family does a zebra belong to?
What?
I can't say. None of the families in our neighborhood owns a zebra.
Well, yeah, see?
There you go. Logical.
That's like why can't Helen Keller drive a car?
No, why can't she?
Because she's dead.
She's dead. There you go. That explains it. I should have known that one. All right, so we sort of wrapped that puppy up.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Um, all right, folks. I guess we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Daddy wasn't finding a bow wow. Daddy wasn't finding a bow wow. I've got a little cat. I'm very fond of that. I'd rather have a big bow wow.
I don't know why I find that so funny
That was
because
good.
you're expecting a tasteless joke about something else.
Yes, yes. Very good. Okay,
Yeah, that's
that
good.
was good stuff, kid.
Oh my God.